Hello, and welcome back to the Lapdown podcast. My name's Alex. The next voice you'll hear is Dan, and we've got some Canadian stuff to talk about. A Canadian Grand Prix where a little bit happened, actually. It wasn't a bad couple of hours. But Dan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. I'm all the better for having that Canadian Grand Prix because it was genuinely very good. It was a good 2 hours of Formula One enjoyment. One that didn't really feel like at any point you could kind of go away for 30 laps and come back and you would have just resumed as to where you were. Things were happening the whole way through, and that's lovely. That's nice. We need more of that. And Canada, I've always liked Canada. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It was a little bit of a slow bubbler through like the first, let's say, half of the race. And I did find myself catching this like on the broadcast. There were a lot of times where it felt like we had 4 or 5 cars like nose to tail through laps. And I appreciate that that's not necessarily a great thing because you'd hope that if you have 5 cars directly next to each other like that, they would do a little bit of overtaking backwards and forwards. And if they're not doing that, there's a concern there. But the fact that they were, and it says a lot. We keep talking about how tight things are all the way through the field. It's not really spread out. And that was just really nice to just see cars be sort of pushing each other around that lap constantly. If you make a mistake, not only am I getting past you, you're probably losing 4 positions out of a single corner for, locking up badly or whatever. So, yeah, that was nice. I enjoyed my time. In Canada.
Yeah. It was a good investment. It was a good investment. I mean, we have to watch it because if we don't watch it, we really do struggle to kind of make this
kind of important for the pod. Yeah.
But it was very good, and we've got some things to talk about, haven't we? We've got a certain incident of Lando rear-ending his teammate, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We've got some Albon and Williams unharmony, upset, maybe. I don't know what the right word is. Kimi Antonelli, the greatest rookie of all time. Hamilton killed a hedgehog. Max and George were fannying around behind a safety car. Stroll is still useless. We've obviously got our random wheel update that we need to give you. Canada's been extended to 2035, which is probably the best news that Formula One's given us. And the drone's back.
Yes, which is wonderful news. You said Hamilton killed the hedgehog there.
Yes.
Which, slightly different risk factor for the tyres. Hedgehog v groundhog. One of them feels a lot more debris-based than the other. That I'm not sure how well a Pirelli goes over a spiky hedgehog. But
no. Well, it turns out it doesn't go over a groundhog particularly well, does it? Bearing in mind it caused significant damage to the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton.
20 points of downforce. We don't really know what a point of downforce means, but he lost 20 of them. So
similar to penalty points. We don't know what they mean either.
There was Martin Brundle said on the commentary he's doing a piece actually for Sky, for Austria, I think it was, where they're going to try and explain what a point of downforce is and what it means and that and stuff, which might actually be quite helpful, and we might know what's going on after that.
That would be good. I'd like them to discuss penalty points.
Yes. Do you want to start with penalty points then? We did the opposite of this with the incident last time. So should we lead off the top with the incident this week? We'll flip the order around as very inexperienced content creators. We're going to give them the good stuff up front. But
let's do it.
We'll jump straight to the end of it. We'll go over what actually happened, I guess, afterwards, because I think me and you were quite aligned on it. And to be honest, I think most of Formula One is quite aligned on what happened and the read of the incident itself. This wasn't a particularly controversial one. I don't think it was just noteworthy. But Lando Norris has been given a 5-second time penalty and no penalty points for, there's no other way to say it, just straight up crashing into another car on a straight bit of road. It's not quite as simple as that, but if objectively, that's what he did. No penalty points for that. 5-second time penalty that was applied to this race because he was actually classified, so he's not carrying that over or anything like that. Discuss, Mr. Jadzovic, discuss. Are we happy with the 5? Are we happy with the no points? There was some interesting wording in the document that the FIA actually said, well, he didn't take anyone else out, so it's all good. Which I thought, isn't that directly against how you're supposed to be reviewing these? Like, isn't your whole memo that the outcome of an incident does not define the incident? But away, begin, sir. Here we go. You've got the floor.
I feel like we've been fairly consistent about our view on penalty points and stewarding since we started this podcast. Yes, I would say that there is some differing opinions when certain drivers are involved, and I think that kind of will naturally happen when you're fans of people. But I still don't know. And that's the thing I am genuinely confused about. There is no denying the fact that Lando Norris there has caused a collision with Oscar Piastri. No denying whatsoever. But if that's happened at various other points in various other Grand Prix in various other seasons, then penalty points have been awarded for it. Now, these penalty points for Lando in particular, they're going to be inconsequential because he's nowhere near a level of which he would be penalised from having such penalty points on his licence. But we spent the whole build-up about this Grand Prix talking about the fact that one driver was one penalty point away, and what happened if this happened, or what happened if that happened, what happened if he didn't slow down enough, slightly under a yellow flag, what happened if he might have nearly overtaken under a safety car, all this other good stuff. And we were worried about that, but this is just, no, you just drive into the back of someone. And do you think it was because he just put his hand up straight away and just kind of went, oh, sorry lads, completely on me, I've been a dozy twat, sorry, I didn't see Oscar there, as opposed to what the fuck was Oscar doing in that straight line? He brake checked me. Why was he there? He didn't leave space. Why he's done this? He's done that wrong. Something. Do you think that's what's got away with it slightly, or do you think it is just another example of just complete inconsistent stewarding?
I think the problem that we've got slightly is that this one was different to other incidents. Not even so much his reaction and throwing his hands up, but you don't often see a car just go straight into the arse of another car down a straight, like mid-straight, like braking zone, sure, or whatever, but just to have misjudged it so badly that halfway down the straight you've just gone into him. You don't see it often. So there is a difference, I think, to going down the inside into a corner and washing out into another car, or bumping sidewall to sidewall on tyres is slightly different to your front wing into the rear tyre of another car. And I go backwards and forwards on it because, yeah, it was an inconsequential bump. Anyone that's played the F1 game knows that the best and strongest part of the car is a front wing against a rear tyre generally, because they just sort of bump and you bump off. But we'd sort of set the standard that if you run into another car, it's 10 seconds now, I thought. That's largely been what we've been at, because we all decided, I say this speaking on behalf of the entire sporting community, of course.
We were an integral part of this decision.
Exactly. We speak for the fans and the legal bodies and all the rest of it. But I thought we'd all come together and decided that 5 seconds in modern Formula One is not really that big of a deterrent, so we're sort of starting at 10s now. Yeah. So that's a bizarre one. The penalty points situation is a bizarre one because what are penalty points for is probably my question with it. Is this an incident? If penalty points are supposed to be extra sentences for something, I'd probably agree. No penalty points here. Like, what would he have been secondary slapped on the wrist for? It was an accidental mistake. It was not rash driving. It wasn't aggressive driving. There was no driver standards issue. It's a racing incident with an outcome, basically. So if we're going penalty points on that approach, then yeah, okay, no penalty points. But then we're going penalty points for a whole range of other things, and they seem to get thrown around really willy-nilly. That at that point, yeah, I don't know. How many seconds did Max get last week for deliberately running into another driver? Was that 10?
I think it was just 10, wasn't it?
Sweet. So there's not a huge difference between accidentally bumping into the rear tyre of your own teammate down a straight and choosing to willingly drive into another competitor.
No. And I don't. The thing, like 5 seconds in Formula One is going to sound like quite a lot, isn't it? For those that are aware of what can happen in 5 seconds in the space of a Formula One Grand Prix, that's quite a lot. But is it actually? Is it really? I mean, this one for Lando's cost him nothing anyway at the end of the day, because it's been given to him on a Canadian Grand Prix where he's DNF'd because he had no bits left on his wagon after he'd driven into the back of his teammate. But are they? I don't know. I think this is the tough thing. I would say the penalty points are inconsistent. I think they probably always have been. I think we've always said it doesn't help with the fact that you have one stewarding team one week and another stewarding team the next week, and another stewarding team the week after that. And you might see the same steward 3 times across the course of the year, but you'll see them 4 or 5 months apart. And then, generally speaking, I don't really know if 5 seconds or 10 seconds is even that big of a deal. I mean, long gone are the days where you seem to have got like stop-go penalties where you'd have to come into the pit lane, stop for 10 seconds, and then carry on your way, because that penalty turned out to be about 37 seconds, which was actually a bit of a deterrent. But just to turn around and go, well, no, we'll just bolt it on the end, or even in this instance, well, we'll stick it on the end of a Grand Prix that you're not even going to finish. Yeah. What's the point? I suppose my question, my final remark on it would be, what was the point in even? Why did you even put the A4 piece of paper in your Canon or Xerox printer? Type all your little notes up with regards to your little investigation as to what happened down there. Everybody saw what happened and then went 5-second penalty to Lando Norris. Print.
See, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think it would have been worse if they'd have just not bothered. I think it's good that they've penalised it because
surely then it should carry over, shouldn't it?
But no, because he completed. He was classified in the Grand Prix, so because if you don't investigate that, if he'd have DNF'd himself 15 laps earlier, then he wouldn't have been classified. He would have been a DNF. He wouldn't have served the penalty, and it would have carried over. We fell into a weird, crevasse of rules that because it was within the last 2 laps or whatever of the Grand Prix, I don't know what the actual cutoff point is, that at that point you don't DNF, you just are deemed to be last. I don't really understand that rule either. Like if you haven't crossed the line, you surely haven't crossed the line. But no, I think they had to still go through the process, even though it is a little bit daft. I think it's correct that they went through the process, because if you don't, then you're opening yourself up to, we don't bother looking into them if they're here or if he DNFs or this, that, and the other. And if again, to go back to last week, if Max had DNF'd himself by deliberately running into another driver very late on in the race, and they went, he DNF'd, so we don't look into, we don't bother investigating that, then it's, at that point, it's not the sporting penalty, then it is the penalty points, but then there's no penalty points now. Yeah. So that doesn't matter anyway. But I think this is a slight anomaly because of the timing in the race, but I think they did probably have to look into it. I don't really understand how they got to the decisions they do. And it's strange that they said in the document that the fact that he buggered his own race and didn't take out his teammate was a mitigating circumstance that meant it was 5 seconds. But then I was always under the impression that the outcome of an incident was not taken into account with the penalty, because otherwise I don't know. But what I will say, and what I do know, and what I think is important to focus on out of that whole thing, good God, for like a whole half a lap there, did we see probably the best display of high-skilled, competitive, incredibly strong quality racing between those two. Like, they went round the best part of half a lap of Canada through hairpins, chicanes, whatever, battling wheel to wheel, both of them with DRS, which was a wonderful sight, perfectly cleanly. And even the actual, when we did get to the incident, that wasn't not clean racing. That's just a misjudged error. That's not sort of anything unclean. But I think there's a chance people don't realise how good the driving had been in the 30 seconds leading up to it, because it obviously gets overshadowed by that. But yeah, I mean, that was pinnacle stuff for me in the build up to that.
Can't argue. Yeah, totally agree. Superb. Probably the best that we've seen this year.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Like a sustained battle.
Yeah, and because it's at the top end of it as well, it makes it feel slightly more important than if they were just doing that for 15th place. I'm sure there's been a battle that's run around half a lap for 17th so far this season between an Alpine and a Toro Rosso, whatever they're called, with Tsunoda behind the wheel. Yeah. But yeah, because it's at the sharp end, that's what makes it exciting. Because there was the nuance of a championship battle as well. They were never going to win the Grand Prix, but actually, what was it? 4 points different? Would it have been 12-8? Wouldn't it? 4th to 5th. could have had a really significant impact on that World Championship battle at the end of the season. As it is, Oscar's walked away with 12 extra points and Lando's come away with nothing. So it's just strengthened Oscar's position. And I kind of feel like it backs up slightly what we spoke about earlier this summer, or this season, about the fact that who we thought was going to go on and win. And I think we both said about Oscar comes across as quite kind of a methodical, quite an efficient, no thrills, gets the job done kind of character. Whereas Lando is that emotional, not inconsistent, but almost mercurial, kind of fluffy moving part thing. And I don't know whether Oscar would have looked at it and gone, it's fine. Look, I'm going to have a go. If it doesn't work, it's all right. I'm going to lose 4 points. I'm going to come back and I'm going to go again. Would a more calm Lando Norris have looked at that opportunity and gone, I'm going to get him again. I'm going to get another opportunity here, as that door was never open. Like, it wasn't even a case of looking. It was nothing other than a complete error from Norris.
I think he's assumed Oscar's going to start. He's tried to predict the move of another driver, which is a risky game. He's assumed that Oscar's now going to start drifting back to the right side of the track because they're getting closer to turn one at that point. So I think he was sort of going for a gap that he thought was about to exist rather than a gap that already exists, and probably had, I would imagine, more closing speed than he thought he had or was going to have. No, I think it is an interesting point, though. The interesting thing for me, and I think this sums up Piastri quite well, I don't think he said anything on the radio about it. Like, in the moment, there was a video someone put out that was like basically all of his, race engineer radio chat over that Grand Prix. And bearing in mind that they pooted along behind a safety car after that as well, there was a lot of opportunity for chat. And at no point did Oscar seem to care that his own teammate had just run back into, not in a bad way, but I could almost see it. If that was old school Checo into Max, or even the other way around, if that was Oscar into Lando, or most of the other driver pairings, I think. Yeah. I think they're straight on going, what the hell was that? What was he doing? Is he, I think there'd be a lot of discussion. And they may well have had a huge amount of discussion off radio back in the garage or whatever, but I think that says a lot that he just sort of cracked on and poodled around behind a safety car. I think points.
I don't know whether concern's the right word, but I think that's the thing worth noting, I think, for the future of Formula One Grand Prix racing. Because that's something that we haven't really seen before from a Formula One driver. That kind of, I can't think of a best word to describe it than cold. It's not cold, but it's clinical. It's surgical from Oscar. It's just kind of like, just hasn't bothered me in the slightest.
In the nicest way possible. It's serious serial killer ass shit, isn't it? Like,
that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, but I think that's something that we just need to keep an eye on, I think, over the next few years of Formula One, because hey, if Piastri went on and won this one, I wouldn't be at all surprised if McLaren can get their act together. That I don't know what it would take to kind of find a little chink in the armor there for Oscar Piastri, and so far that no one's found on. And Hey, for Australian Formula One fans, I think you got a good one there.
Got to wake up early, but it's good. Yeah. It's good when you do.
It's good content. What else happens? Should we talk about Kimi Antonelli, because he's quite good again?
Kimi Antonelli's back to being quite good. To be fair, I think he was always quite good. He had a little bit of shit luck go against him with some engines going pop. More engines going pop for Mercedes, by the way. I'd just like to point out, we put that TikTok out, and a few people were is what I'll say back to you now.
I did disagree with you, but
because more of them have gone pop. Some interesting discourse around that, though, that they're obviously not going pop for the McLarens because the theory is that the other teams are having to run those engines, A, bloody hard, and B, a lot hotter than the McLarens are, which is potentially where some of that concern or not concern is coming from. But either way, you don't love to see it. Just engines straight up going pop. But no, he continues to be really good. I would say for the whole bunch of rookies, to be honest, they're not necessarily driving like rookies. Like they've very quickly settled into the field. They're very dispersed through the field. It's not that we've just got 6 drivers in Ps 14 to 20 each week because they're rookies. But it's fine because they're rookies. I can't remember the last time I saw Gabriel Bortoleto. Have you seen Gabriel Bortoleto lately? He's racing.
I mean, I reckon we've had as much Gabriel Bortoleto content as we've had about the Canadian Grand Prix race winner content over the course of the 2025 season, to be fair.
It was George Russell, by the way, everyone. George was there.
Yeah, he won a race. Did you know that?
He won a race.
Did you know that he drove for Williams? Williams? Did once in his life. Did you know that he drove for Mercedes?
Well, it might not be anymore if they get Max. But, he drives for Mercedes at the minute. But
did well, though, didn't he?
He did bloody well. Quali, George Russell, wow. He was very, very impressive on the Sunday because he basically just led it and just drove his race and won the thing. But given the margins we've been seeing in quali gaps, for George Russell in a Mercedes to have just fucked that home by like a tenth and a half or something, it was like I think it was like 0.12 or something like that. That's one of the bigger gaps I think I can remember having seen. Like they put out those visualized, like here's your like top 3 visualized times and stuff, and usually the cars are sort of, covering each other's bodywork in some capacity. And this week you just had George like 4 car lengths in front of everyone else, and you think, where have you pulled that from? But I like it. Well done. Keep yourself in that mix, my boy.
Look. We all thought this was going to be the best Formula One World Championship season of all time ever, didn't we? And we haven't. Got
Might
that.
still be.
It could be. I don't think it will be, but it could be. But George Russell is having a very good time of it. I don't know. He must be 3rd in the World Drivers' Championship, isn't he?
Is Max still clinging on? Max might still be clinging on, I would imagine. But he's certainly going to be.
He's got
certainly going to be up
19 point lead over George.
Yeah.
He's just doing well.
Yeah,
he's doing well. He's like really posh vanilla ice cream, Madagascan vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, little flecky thing.
Yeah, there would be lots of other flavors that a lot of other people would choose. You're never going to be, if somebody turns around and said, we've only got Madagascan vanilla ice cream left, nobody's going to turn around and go, oh, well, that's bloody useless. I don't want it. Yeah. Everyone's going to go, okay, yeah, that's nice. And there will be some out there that are real, like, passionate fans of Madagascan vanilla ice cream. So for those of you that are fans of George Russell, congratulations and enjoy it, because although he doesn't get spoken about, and sometimes you might watch 2 hours of Grand Prix and you might not even know he's there, he's doing all right.
Yeah. Also, loving that he's genuinely adopted the T-pose as his thing. That's the best way to... Whether or not he loved it from the start or not, I don't know. But the best way to get people to stop making fun of something is to start making fun of it yourself, or to like fully embrace it. And well done to him for reclaiming the T-pose. I'm all for it. It's also nice to see like unique celebrations, and having that's my thing that I do when I win now, is I do the T-pose. It's like sweet, and it's not forced. It came about naturally and organically out of your own hands, and just nice.
And you're limited, aren't you, with Formula One? Despite the fact that the video game suggests that actually flossing on the podium is the right thing to do. It's not like you can run down the start-finish straight and knee slide across the finish line. Or you can't
static as well.
You can't pull your fireproof overalls over your head and celebrate into the crowd. Those kind of options aren't there. So you are limited, and I think George has done quite well there to own it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. How nice was it, by the way, just to have a natural 2-stop Grand Prix that was maybe a 1-stop? Could some people take a risk and hang it out? Not everyone started on the same tyres. It was a 2-stop with relatively wide windows. I mean, Pirelli cops a lot of flack across, many race weekends. So I think it's important that when it was a good tyre allocation, and it was just good. I think they got it right with tyres this weekend. It was just good to see, and it felt like strategy was involved. Even though there wasn't necessarily any strategic outcome from it, it sort of didn't pay off into big undercut moves and winners and losers like that. But it just keeps things zesty. Not even spicy, just a bit of zing to it. Just a bit of zing.
Just a sprinkle of fresh lemon. I agree. I think Pirelli get the stick because I think we probably look to Pirelli to save what is going to be a dull Formula One weekend. We all know the cars are too fat. We all know the cars are too long. We all know that a lot of the circuits one, don't complement those tall and fat cars, but then also don't actually really generate any form of tyre wear, regardless of whatever compound of tyres you put together on them. So everybody's kind of case of, yeah, well, what if Pirelli brought back the super pink tyres for this weekend, and then they had to do this, and then you kind of created this bit up here, and then we could have an extra pit stop because they had to use this tyre and stuff. And actually, there are probably the bigger problems are the fact that the cars aren't fit for purpose, and the fact that the circuits don't create don't put enough strain on the cars in order to kind of make those things happen naturally. And it's kind of a case of, you look at what's a relatively small part of Formula One, the people that turn up with the tyres to go, lads, can you make this interesting for us this week? Because otherwise we're a bit fucked.
It's a really interesting point, actually, that they are in a thankless job. That actually, it's an incredibly unfair job that we give Pirelli. They've been told, they're a tyre manufacturer that's specifically told to make tyres that are shit and don't last, first of all. So I'm sure they love that. And then if they get the tyres right, no one really I know we're doing it right now, but no one really tends to say, well done, banging tyre selection, that was perfect.
Yep.
But as soon as the tyres aren't absolutely perfect, everyone's blaming the tyres. So it's I think it's a really good point that we're relying on them to try and carry the sport, but then we give them no credit, we give them maximum blame. But fair play this weekend.
I'm curious as to know as well, and there's not really much of a question or a comment, but how many people who watch Formula One, when they go and get their tyres changed on their Ford Fiesta, have to have Pirelli tyres because of that Formula One kind of deal? I know, obviously, I think almost Pirelli will exclusively make those P0 tyres for those people that own Ferraris and McLarens and stuff like that, which for the vast majority of people don't. So they are looking for a very small consumer base there. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever kind of gone into a shop to get my tyres changed and suddenly gone, I've got to have Pirelli.
No, if anything, I've done the opposite, because if I need my tyres changed, I go, oh, I'm not going to look at the Pirellis because they're going to be expensive. So they've established themselves as a premium option, if nothing else.
Good for them.
Good for them. Good for them. I'm going to keep this positivity rolling. We're doing another Posse Pod. We're finishing with another Posse Pod. We talked about it in Monaco. We talked about it in Miami. The drone cam in F1 is the best thing to have happened to the sport since combustion engines. Because I didn't realise how much of a fetish I had for top-down shots over squiggly bits of track until they've started dropping a drone on me every race weekend now.
Yeah.
And when you've got that Wall of Champions Canadian Grand Prix top-down shot and I'm seeing cars go, woo, woo, it's like, yes, please. All the time. Every weekend. The whole track. Cover the whole track. I'm going to watch it like a video game top down.
Yeah. I wonder, that's a good point actually, the last bit. I wonder if there is that kind of just little bit of like toy on nostalgia for you that's kind of making it quite as appealing as what it is. I mean, I'd look at it and I'd just go, this looks like art. And I'd like to have a big digital poster on my wall that I could just switch between various kind of static drone camera shots and just have it there all day long, or have a PC or a laptop background of just top down Monaco, just kind of going all the way around the little S's or the little hairpins. I love it. I love it. I don't know why it's taken so long to bring it into the broadcast, to be quite frank. It's the technology must have been there for years, but I'm glad they have. And I think I have to agree with your extremist view of the fact that this is the best thing to happen to Formula One since the combustion engine was invented. It's better than DRS. It's better than forced two stops in Monaco. It's better than F-ducts. It's better than double blown rear diffusers. It's better than sticky compounds, and better than Goodyears, and better than Michael Schumacher. Just give me drone shots all the time.
I think part of what it is, is because they've had the drone for a couple of years, but they were trying to do too much with the drone. Like, I remember it was either at like COTA or maybe Brazil or something that they were trying to fly with the cars. And they were doing it in this almost set movement of trying to track the cars around a corner, thinking this is going to look really cool. And it didn't look really cool because the drone was wobbling to shit and you couldn't see anything because you can't keep up with the Formula One car.
And the cars look slow as well.
And now they've done the opposite thing. If they've got, actually, let's just use the drone to get cameras into positions that we can't usually. And I think part of what makes the drone camera, if anything, so eye-catching and maybe why it's so refreshing is that it's a static camera on a wide angle, because we very, very rarely get those in Formula One. We very rarely get wide angles, let alone a static wide angle, because we need to see the sponsors up close, because otherwise how will I know where to buy my snus from? But it's the fact that they're locking it off in a... We don't usually see top down either. So it gives you a sense of how fast they're going, even though they're through slow chicanes. It shows you how fast they're going, how much space there is or isn't, how metronomic the lines they take through there are. And it's just a nice change of pace. It's a breath of fresh air from the cameras constantly going boom, 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 boom. And you can actually see where the cars are and what they're doing. I love it. I love it.
And
I love it.
It's a less is more camera as well. It's kind of you've got 4 tokens for a Grand Prix to use whenever you like, but you've got 4 tokens.
Yeah.
And that's all you can use it for. Because if it was all just top-down drone footage, you would get to a point and go, well, this is getting a little bit silly now. But because it's just there and you kind of, you're not expecting it. And it creeps up on you. It's like a jump scare, but a good jump scare. And you go, oh, drone footage. And you go, oh, I like this. And then you go back to normality and you leave it for half an hour. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, drone footage again. And you love it again. So yeah, less is more. Don't get carried away. Keep doing what you're doing with it. Maybe I'll tell you what, how about like an actual start finish, a start line replay of the start, boom, right the way up the top, get around the first corners and you just go, and we're going to cut back to the view of the start. And it's just that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely
Art.
Stunning. Right, we've had a couple of emails to finish
Love
off. And we love an email. If you'd like to send us an email, you can do that, lapdownpod@gmail.com. You can send us something in. We have got 2 emails to go over today. And I'm going to start with Andrew's email because partially we have covered a lot of it. We've covered a lot of Andrew's email without referencing Andrew's email first. But Andrew, who we've heard from before, friend of the show, Andrew, he said, just a quick question. Who's this George Russell guy that won on the weekend? Haven't heard of him much this year. Very correct. He's the Madagascan vanilla ice cream. And then on a more serious note, how about the Rookie of the Year campaign? Kimi back on top after the weekend. But it's anyone's game between him and Hadjar. And I'm going to throw that straight at you now, Dan, as we approach the halfway point of the season. And we will do a rookie recap special properly at some point. But as it stands, who's your number 1 Rookie of the Year? It's probably a question I'm going to keep asking you every week, I reckon, because I reckon they're going to keep changing. But
yeah, I think you can easily get carried away with Antonelli with the podium. I think you can. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely incredible achievement. I think he's done very well. Hadjar to come back from what he did at Melbourne to do what he's done in that Red Bull and somehow has remained untouched in that racing. Yeah, I called it a Red Bull, didn't I? Racing Bull or V Carb, whatever it's called. I think he's got to be a serious contender. I'd say it's a pretty 50-50 at the minute. I wouldn't have said there's much between the two of them. I don't know, what is there, a 42-point difference between Antonelli and Hadjar at the moment in the championship?
Is the car worth 42 points, do you reckon? How much is the Mercedes worth over a V-Carb? What's the handicap there, do you reckon?
I mean, surely the Mercedes is significantly better than the V-Carb, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over the course of however many Grand Prix that we've had, 40-odd points. I don't know.
Be interesting.
My heart says Hadjar.
Yeah.
My heart says Hadjar. And that's all I'm judging it on because I have no brain. So
I think for me as well, I'm going to give it to Hadjar at the minute. And I'm going to give it to Hadjar because he came in with comparatively no fanfare whatsoever. He wasn't Toto's special little boy that they, were insistent on getting in. No one was calling Hadjar the next Verstappen. He's going to be Toto's Verstappen. He's, binned off Lewis Hamilton to bring this guy in. He just sort of quietly came in, and there was no expectation on him, and whether that's part of it as well, that actually are we undervaluing what Kimi's doing because we sort of semi-expected him to do it as where we didn't with Hadjar or whatever. But I think there's an element of that like this bloke's just come in. It's like a new guy that comes into work in accounts, and he comes in and he's not in the marketing team, so he's not sticking a camera in your face to do a TikTok every week. But he saved the company a load of money, and now we're all getting a Christmas bonus. Well done. Well done, Isaac. And then we've had an email from Lidia. Hello, Lydia. Lydia's from Melbourne. Yes, the Aussies. Get in. I won't read you all of Lydia's email. It's a lovely email, Lydia. Thank you for sending it. But Lydia and her 2 sons. So shout out to Frank and Vinny. Frank, Vinny, and Lydia are doing their own random world
Are they
championship.
children or are they 60-year-old blokes that grew up in South London?
Hey, they're Lydia's sons. I don't know how old Lydia is, but I don't know the ages.
They're great names. They are strong names, and I love it.
Frank and Vinny are leading the way in their random world championship. So they're doing a very similar thing to us. They are picking names out of a hat rather than doing them on the wheel. But Lydia has seen similar things to us, that we're seeing a lot of similar names, and they don't tend to be from the front runners. Lydia was given doing 3 weeks straight. It took until Japan for Mum to even get on the board in the score sheet I'm looking at. She was some 40 points behind the leader by round 3. And she's still trailing, is Lydia. Frank's out in front. Go on, Frank. Go on, my son. But yeah, if anyone else is doing their own Random World Championship playing along, by the way, let us know how you're getting on. But Lydia says, thanks for the podcast. Look forward to every week in the Insta Rules of Fire. You're doing great, sweetie. And I think that's delivered to you, Dan. I think that's specifically towards your end. But thank you, Lydia, for the email. And as I say, if anyone else would like to email in, lapdownpod@gmail.com. Dan, let's talk about our Random World Championship, because I would like to talk about it because I think it's going well for me.
It is going well for you. I mean, it's going so well for you that you even forgot that you had Oscar Piastri and you had to ask whether you'd scored any points at Canada.
Because we're not used to getting good drivers. Like Lydia was saying, for some reason, it's just the filler drivers that seem to come off the wheel a lot.
How many times have you had Lando, Max, and Oscar through the course of this season?
I don't know. You've got the spreadsheet, mate.
I do have the spreadsheet.
I don't have a Lydia's notebook in front of me. You have the spreadsheet.
You've had a Hamilton.
He's wank.
All right. Well, you've had 4 so far back to Miami. Russell, do you want to count Russell as a driver? George, you know George?
What team's he drive for?
Mercedes.
Oh, I thought he was Williams.
Williams used to be. There's another 2. That's 7.
I'm just hearing a lot of excuses here for the fact that you're losing, Danny boy.
And you had Liam Lawson as well in the Red Bull for Australia. So
that's a handicap. I deserve more credit for the fact that I had to put up with him.
But not at that time. It wasn't. That was full of hope and optimism.
No.
Anyway,
it was always a handicap.
No. Anyway, the championship as it stands, you currently have 141 points, having picked up 12 from Oscar Piastri, and only Oscar Piastri in Canada, because Yuki Tsunoda still cannot drive. I walk away from Canada with nil points, having picked up Pierre Gasly and Oliver Behrman. So no points for me, which means I stay on 116 points, and you have, if my maths are right, a 25-point lead over myself with, well, quite frankly, several Grand Prix left. So I'm not disheartened, but I'm less than thrilled by the fact that you have a lead.
Yeah, rightly so. Rightly so. So we've got a week off now, don't we? Before we go to Austria. So over the course of the next week, everybody, if you would like to go and follow us in various other places, you can do that by following Lapdown Pod on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, or you can go and follow Dan on his various socials. Yeah,
at Dan Jads. You can listen all about the Caribbean Premier League.
There you go.
And we'll have to figure out how the Formula One podcast works from Antigua.
I think we can do it. I think you can scout for some locations.
Yes.
There you go. That's an episode. Is Dan looking around, working out where we can have a Caribbean Grand Prix.
The Guyanese Formula One Grand Prix, Georgetown.
Yes, I like it. The Talawa Grand Prix. Love it. Love it. If you want to see me play games on the internet, you can at twitch.tv/hey look, it's Alex.
Have you got a schedule for that Lego you're going to build yet?
I haven't. It's still sat next to me.
I'm going to just keep asking you at the end of each episode so that people have got something to look forward to.
Yeah, this is how we drag it on, you see. We get them invested and then we drop it in on like the 31st of December.
Makes sense.
And laptoppod@gmail.com. Once again, if you want to send an email, you can do with all your thoughts and all the rest of it. Leave a review and like it and share it with a friend and all that good stuff. And we will see you next week to talk about Austria.
See ya.
Bye.